Hello all you out there, and welcome to Classroom Power-Ups. Today I fell down a rabbit hole of spreadsheets. I have other things that I've been working on. In my last video I talked a little bit about an interactive map that I'm still working on, but I started working on what I call my students' personal grade books, but really it's kind of like a gamified hub. Now I want to walk through a little bit of my gradebook and show you what it looks like, and then how I've connected it to a personal spreadsheet that the students get. I am working from a beta gradebook that I borrowed from Alice Keeler a few years ago. I've modified it significantly, or at least what I've done on top of the gradebook. And I wanted to show you a little bit about how this works. Now, when I get at my student roster every year, and I have a form that the students fill out that tells me all this information. So I have their name, first name, last name. This is not the kid's real name, but this is a real name. Or this is a name, and they can select which guild they're going to be in. Now, whether they're a hunter or a sentinel is important. I'll put a little link to my avatar types here, but that depends on how they charge their superpower. Every kid has a superpower player type, which impacts the way that they play the class. Some of them might affect their exam, how they take the exam. Some of it's how we battle in the class. So they can be any one of these 8 different superhero types. And because of the ranking system that I have, they can voluntarily choose to try to rank up into new levels. They can get superhero logos. They can earn a weapon. They can get a sidekick eventually. Some will actually be able to get a costume. This is one of my students' costumes. And that gets put in my Hall of Heroes. So the students can all see who's got a rank. They also get to move their clothespin around. They have a clothespin on a ribbon, and when they rank up, they can move up to the next ribbon, and they can kind of show off and have a status reward that way. Okay. Now, because we're going into the second semester, and I have students first semester and second semester, I wanted to find a way for them to be able to keep their XP, but also start grades over, because I use XP grading. So I wanted them to be able to keep their level and keep their ranks, but start back at 0 on the XP. So what I figured out was that I can transfer all of their XP over to a semester 1. Their semester 2 XP starts at 0 here, and I can still calculate all of their levels, which impacts their rank. I add the grades in on this page. This is essentially the home page for the gradebook. And what I've been playing around with today is to figure out a way to indicate their superpower charge or how many hearts they have left, depending on if they're a hunter or a sentinel. So I'm going to start off by showing you the hunter page. Joe here, I have him listed as a hunter with super strength. So when I make all of my adjustments in the formulas, I can look at this page and see that Joe here can get all of the information that he needs to play the game. So we can see he's super strength. Here's his super strength logo. He's a level 6. We have him listed as a vigilante, and this is just a reminder that he's a hunter. And he starts off the semester with 3 hearts. And if he would like to rank up, I've automated this process right here. So if he wants to, everyone starts off as a neophyte. And if he wanted to become a vigilante, he would use this code to then open up a Google form, which would start the first part of that process. And I have automated this using if-then statements. So if A1 right here is a sentinel, then it's going to pull from the passcodes list down here, and it will automate what the passcode is for each one of these. And let's see, anyways, when they reach a certain number, it will then show them the right codes. And you look over here, the passcodes, and because he's a hunter, it's pulling this. So if the XP, which is in cell A, says that it'll, right here, 5A, A5, it shows Vision Quest. So, and over here, if it's more than 3,900, it'll show for higher, and that again gets put in over here. Alrighty. But what the rabbit hole was that I fell into today was dealing with how to get this box right here to appear and disappear when this says Hunter, or how to get some cells down here to show up when this says Sentinel. So if I go to the student data sheet and I change this to Sentinel, what's really neat is all of a sudden all of this is going to change. All of this is based on if statements. So if A1, and these little dollar signs keep the cell permanent. So permanently cell A, permanently cell 1, so when you drag across, that won't change. If it says Sentinel, then it's going to read S5 charges. Now, that was one thing that I was trying to figure out. And the reason that this disappears, even though there's still text over here, it's blank. So if we go and right-click down on conditional formatting, if the cell is empty, it'll show up black, but if the cell is not empty, it's going to show up red. So that is one little trick to make things appear and disappear on the spreadsheets. But I wanted to be able to charge this up. And the way that I show charges, so when students get a question, or I'm sorry, when they get an assignment done on time, they earn a charge point. And I was going around and I was giving them physical stickers they would put on a card, and then I'd have to look at the card. But I wanted to just automate the process so I didn't have to go around and remember to hand out the cards, because I've been really bad about remembering to do that, and the students get frustrated and upset. So if I go here, and now Joe is a Sentinel, and I put in the number of points that he got for his homework, that automatically updates according to this cell, or at least it's supposed to. So now the gradebook pops up here, and I have a little thing here down below this that says if it is a Sentinel, I'm going to count A, whoops, I put it in the wrong cell, that's why. It's going to read if, there we go, it's going to read A13, and if A13 is greater than 1, it's going to count that cell, and then this cell is summing up the number of count if statements here. So now the student knows that they have one charge towards their superpower, and if they get the second homework assignment done for that unit, they have 2 charges. And those 2 charges will then be able to use to build up their power. And again, that's all done with if statements. Now let's say that since Joe is actually a Hunter. And let's say Joe didn't get his homework done. He didn't submit it yet. Well, I write in 0 for the points and missing. So now, since he's a Hunter, he starts off with 3 hearts, but because I've typed in 0 missing, it's going to read this as only 2, because up here I have a hidden cell that says if A1 says Hunter, it's going to count all of the missing cells that say 0 missing, and that's going to return that number as 1. Right, so there's 1 0 missing. So let's say because the Hunters only have, they have all year, all semester, they only get 3 hearts. If I type this in again, I have checked this section. Well, now it says 2, and he only has 1 heart remaining. But because that doesn't matter for a Sentinel, because the Sentinels are building up from 0, if I change him back over to a Sentinel, he still has 1 charge. The 0 doesn't matter. And if I go back, he gets that homework done. Put in 150. Still has 2 charges. If I flip him back over to a Hunter, all this flips back over, and he's got 2 hearts remaining now. So the long and short of this is, using if statements and the conditional formatting, I was able to automate the process of giving out these little badges, these collecting hearts if they miss assignments, or awarding points if they receive assignments. In this way, I don't have to remember who's a hunter and who's a sentinel. It's automatically done for me, and it's a process where I don't have to think as much about who's who and who's doing what. The picture here is similar. You go in here, and if he ranks, if he goes up a rank, I'll have to go down here and make him a mercenary, and now his mercenary card changes. So the magics of VLOOKUPs and if-thens, count-if statements, and if statements, just really great in this gradebook. And the personal grade hub is great for students. And the gradebook, I really love. I mean, it's so easy to add in grades, to count the XP, to play around with things. A lot of these pages I don't actually use anymore. But if, for example, I wanted just the students to see comments, I can click on the comments, and everything after this comma would appear. Now, I let the students know what their score is, right? Because in a game, you want to know what your score is and how you can better suit it up there. But this is the comment that would appear after the comma. So if I had if I wanted parents to see part of my grade book and I just wanted them to see the comments and not the grade for some reason, I could have them look at that. So overall, I hope you've enjoyed this time looking at a grade book of all things. It's probably not the most exciting way to spend your time, but I wanted to share my little experience falling down the spreadsheets rabbit hole. Let me take 1 second, and you can pause as I see this, as I show this, but here's all the formulas that I'm using. So here's a transposition with an import range, so I'm importing from this document, and it's this number right up here. You copy and paste that into these quotations, and that tells the program to look at that particular spreadsheet. So I'm importing everything that's up here, and then I'm transposing it, which means making it go from horizontal down to vertical. And there's their entire XP count. And here I have a little import range that's pulling from the student data sheet, which tells right here, explains what their mercenary or level is. The level is pulling from the grade book, which comes from a couple of different places. This is my if statement, so if A is a hunter, it's going to pull from a little chart that I have over here that I usually keep hidden. These passcodes are pulling from various different locations. This is a transposition of the passcodes, which is, it's actually a nested if statement. So if A1 is sentinel, then transpose this formula. But if A1 is hunter, you're going to transpose from this formula, which is kind of interesting. We have hidden formulas here that are counting if it says 0 missing. And then this is just if A is a hunter, then subtract 3 from that hidden formula. And down here in the sentinel section, we have if A says sentinel, it's just going to pop up the word charges. That's what these quotations say. And then this is a summation if A is a sentinel. And this is a count if statement or a count statement. So there's a lot of stuff going on between data validation and different formulas. The students get to see this, but they don't actually get to edit it. So they don't have editing rights, they just have viewing rights. And everything is linking the gradebook up with these individual grade sheets. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm at my limit. So yeah. Goodbye.